So for my first story, I think you also did some research on this, is Disneyland makes its debut into Fortnite. And it just launched a few days ago. Did you check this game out?
Yeah, I was playing this weekend, but I'm keen to hear your thoughts before I go into it.
Yeah, so some quick background on it. So this it's the Disneyland Game Rush. It launched inside of Fortnite Creative Mode, and it's to celebrate Disneyland's 70th anniversary. It's collaboration, obviously, with Disney and Epic Games, following the massive investment that they made into Epic not that long ago. And this will be a limited time activation going through the summer of 26. It's a hub, and then there's several mini games, and those mini games are all based on different rides at Disneyland, right?
Yeah, that's right. So you have, I think for me, the one what was interesting is that you had different IP that we hadn't seen from Disney. So Indiana Jones is the one that came to mind. The others,
That's
you're
new.
right, there are rides that are quite popular from Disneyland, but that was the one that I thought was quite interesting to see finally another IP coming from them, outside of obviously The Simpsons and what they're currently doing right now.
And it won't be the last. Lots of Disney IP is on the way. In fact, everyone's talking about this as not being the end all be all. This is just one little update in the whole Disney ecosystem the plans that they have inside of Fortnite. So to me, this feels like a little bit of like testing the waters situation.
Hmm.
Just jumping in and seeing how audiences react when Disney takes this concept of the metaverse and brings its IP in and kind of makes it interactive. What do people like? What do they not like? How are they going to take those learnings and apply it to
Yeah.
what they're continuing to build out? What's your next news story?
Next news story is an exciting one. So Walmart has added AI-generated audio summaries for their selected for a few selection of products. So this is something that Amazon has done previously, but essentially what it is a chat integration around products on their e-commerce page that allows you to discuss with the AI and ask more questions around the product, and it mixes a description of the product itself, but most importantly, the feature that I'm most interested in is a summary of all of the reviews that you have behind comments. I think when you're shopping on Amazon, like I am at the moment, there's a lot of reviews. It's very difficult to know what is the overall, like when you have like thousands of reviews, the only thing that you really look at is the general scoring, but not the overall like opinion around a product. So I thought that was like really interesting for them to start leveraging AI to be able to do that, and it's
That's
done
great.
in, I don't know if you used the voice functionality on ChatGPT where you can just talk to it and it gives back on like,
I know that's a thing. I haven't quite used it yet. Have you?
it's great because I mean what's really interesting is that it really doesn't feel like a bot talking to you. It feels like you and I speaking. So it is very interactive. So this is what Walmart has done, where it feels like it's a person telling you more about the product and what people are thinking, and it allows you to compare product between one another. So what they've launched is for now this functionality around 1,000 premium beauty products, which I thought was really interesting because they were mentioning this is where people are asking the most, or at least are going through the reviews, maybe less on
Hmm.
like the best tomato or ketchup product. But for products that are in the beauty or cosmetic industry, they are looking at all of the reviews to understand whether this is the right product for them.
Yeah, I mean, this to me seems like a no-brainer. I could see a lot of different companies leveraging this. And just in general, the way these language models work is they just aggregate like massive amounts of information and then they consolidate it in a way that's relevant to you.
Hmm.
And so this makes total sense as a use case, and I think we're going to see a ton more of it.
Yeah,
And thanks for the
absolutely.
tip on the voice. I'm going to start having
It's it's
dialogue instead
it's
of
really
typing.
fun. I think you should check it out because I think it kind of, I think, redefine what chatbots means because it really doesn't feel like it. It feels like a normal conversation.
So moving on to my next story, there's a new study that shows that in-game ads outperform traditional digital ads. And for context, there's a company called FramePlay. It's an in-game marketing technology provider, and they put the study out. They use data from over 173 in-game campaigns
Mhm.
and 7,000 brand list studies from projects over the past few years. And the research finds that in game advertising achieved an ad recall of 32%, outperforming all other digital formats. Did you see this?
I haven't. I am always a little bit skeptical when the results align with the product that they're selling. But I want to know more about like the findings and how they're conducting their study.
Yes. So, I mean, I'm sure there is some bias in here. It was conducted by this group. But data doesn't lie, right?
No,
That's
no,
what
no,
I learned
exactly.
from Geek. So, so basically, they're saying that like in-game ads delivered 52% brand attribution, and that's 9 points above the media average. And what their whole argument is that there's a lean in nature in
Hmm.
gaming, which essentially is like unlike when you see an ad, like when you're watching TV or you're on your phone or you're walking down the street, you're not leaned in at that point. It's kind of like an additional thing that's in your environment. But when you're playing a game, you're so focused because it's fully interactive. There's so much hand-eye coordination going on that if an ad appears within that context, it's just it gets absorbed
Hmm.
much stronger. So I think that that seems to make sense. And obviously, once it's absorbed, then you can recall it, and that is just a better form of advertising. And so, I feel like this study just points to the fact that this is a smart place to advertise, as we've been beating that drum for so long. But I just like to see studies like this because it kind of reinforces our thinking. But what are your thoughts?
No, absolutely. Like I said, I think it would be for those kind of studies. I feel like what I don't think we need more studies to prove that. I feel like we need more correlation between those kind of companies with agencies where there is a real like for like comparison of a campaign that's run on social versus the same campaign run on like gaming platform. I think that would be really interesting because I'm just wondering. Like I fully agree with the results. I'm sure that it aligns with what you and I know about consumers and in those spaces. I'm just wondering what else do we need so that
I
agencies and
know.
brands are a little bit more secure? And I feel like what you need is also a sort of partnership with an agency where you can have a like for like comparison. But fully agree. I think I'm it all makes sense. All makes sense to me.
That's a great question. I would love to have a traditional marketer on here and say, what do we need to do to convince you? Like,
Yeah,
what
exactly.
type of
What
study
data do
would
you
change
need
your
so
mind?
that there is a little bit more of like a guarantee that you're gonna gain success by advertising in these platforms? But it seems what you and I were talking about is like the attention and the quality of their attention is greater on gaming than on social platforms. So it seems to be normal that when your ad is on there that you recall it for a longer period of time.
Makes sense. Well, I'm excited for your next story about Australia and social media. Let
Yes,
us know what's up.
this one is it hasn't come in my radar a lot. I just find this news clip recently, but Australia is restricting social media access to under 16. So this has been done by the government, and this includes major platform including Snapchat, TikTok, YouTube, X, Facebook, Instagram, but also has been added Reddit and Kicks, which I thought was really interesting. So they asked this will be started from December. The companies or all the social media companies need to have all the required step in order to identify and verify the age of their users. And they also need to start implementing essentially the removal of the accounts that are for the under 16. Otherwise, there is a severe financial penalties, which is 49.5 million, actually probably a drop in the ocean for a lot of these big companies. But already Facebook Meta has mentioned that they are moving ahead with the regulations that Australia is putting forward. What was interesting, however, is that in the article that was brought by the government, so they're currently not looking at Roblox. So they've mentioned that there are other conversations with Roblox that are happening, but they are currently not banned for the under 16s, which I thought was quite interesting,
Well,
especially
this
with.
is all this is all based on the studies that social media with under like younger kids, it has a negative connotation, right? Like
So
they
there's
feel
several
bad about
reasons. So
themselves.
the prime motivator, and I quote, is predatory algorithm, harmful
Hmm.
content, toxic popularity metrics. So I
Hmm.
think is you're right that there's two things. One is probably the more I think the predatory aspect of things by having young adults, younger teens on these platforms. But the other side is also the harmful impact that certain content can have on young teens' mental health.
Well, there's no surprise that social media is like harmful to young people. Like we already know this. There's tons of studies, so it's about time that countries are taking action. I think we're
Cor-
going to see more
Correct.
of it in general. I think
Correct.
more countries are going to lean in. I don't know about to this degree necessarily, but there needs to be more limitations on this stuff. And on the flip side, on gaming, there's so many studies that show that like gaming does not have that sort of like toxic effect on youth, like
I
that.
guess yes and no. I think there are obviously a lot of like press around, Roblox having also predatory behavior and then people in within those platforms. But
Like
I
gambling
agree that it was
mechanics.
quite interesting that Roblox was exempt here because I think there's probably more positive than negative, and it's more up to Roblox to put the right infrastructure to be able to make sure that people are safe within that platform. It's not the content itself, I think, that is harmful. But again, there's a lot, especially with UGC gaming, there's a lot again of monitoring that needs to happen. But we know that Roblox is investing a lot. We talked about that last week, but they're investing a lot to make sure that this is a safe platform.
Yeah, that's a great point. Like if social media starts to go away from that sort of 16 and under or 18 and under age, it's all going to migrate into UGC gaming, which it already is kind of,
Exactly.
but you're just going to see a massive wave. So we'll see what these other countries do.
Yeah, exactly. That is it for the news.
That's it for the news, and we're going to be jumping over to my review of ParaNorman Tower Defense on Roblox. So let's go to the real-time review.
That's it for this week news highlights. If you're watching on YouTube, don't miss the full episode featuring our real-time review of ParaNorman Tower Defense on Roblox and our interview with Rick Hack, founder of Empire House. We'll see you there.
The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the host and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views, policies, or positions of host employers. The information shared during this podcast is based on personal experience and publicly available information and is intended for informational purposes only. Any references to specific platforms, companies, or partnerships are made in a personal capacity and do not imply endorsement, partnership, or official association with any organization mentioned.